Hi everyone, my name is Abhishek Jain and welcome back to the series where I promise that I'm gonna publish another video for another library in Python which is known as safety, and this library actually does the scanning of all the dependencies which we have in our Python code. And we know that, to write any solution or any application in Python, we dependent upon a lot of publicly available libraries, right? And knowingly or unknowingly, those libraries sometimes has some vulnerabilities, right? And when we use them, unfortunately, we also uh, open up the door for the unauthorized person to exploit those vulnerabilities, right? So that is where this library known as safety is very helpful. So let's get into the demo, and then we can just talk about a little bit of theoretical aspect and the real-time use of this library in a production-like environment. So to start the demo, I just created another project, Python safety. So what I'm going to do is, I guess you guys can see my terminal. Most of the time, I have to deal with databases. I have to, get connected to the remote machines, and I have to create a lot of fake data, right? So to do that, I use uh, normally I use Postgres as a database. So I use this COP2 binary library. And what I'm gonna do intentionally is I'm gonna use this 2.9.9 because if you just see, the latest one is 3.1 something, so it's way older. So I'm just using the older library version intentionally to just see, how safety is going to help me with that. Another library I'm going to use is the NumPy. I'm using NumPy 1.22.0 because I know it has some null difference pointer issues vulnerabilities, which is well known. So I intentionally use that and see if safety can catch that or not. And then another one is the Fabric, which actually helped me to just get connected with the remote machines. Right. So I just installed three libraries: the Fabric, PSY2, PSY COPG2 binary, and the NumPy. Right. Now, as I mentioned, safety is the Python library which help us to just scan our dependencies or the libraries which we are having in our solutions. So we have to install safety. So simple command pip install safety. You can just go to the Python. Let me just search for safety PYPI. It has, I think it has a commercial version as well. What safety does is pretty much same like other vulnerabilities libraries, where it has its own database. It uses the CB database. CB stands for common vulnerabilities and expressions and exposures, and then we have a CWE, which is common weakness enumerations. So it has databases internally, and it uses external database which actually holds up information about all the known vulnerabilities and all this stuff, right? So this is the safety module, and if you just check install dependencies for known vulnerabilities and the licenses, right? So you can use this. It's very straightforward. You can just go through the documentation. Okay, so we have installed let's assume safety as well successfully. Let me just click safety and help. Let's see what options we have. Okay, so we have a bunch of options like alert, check, generate, license, review, and validate. So what I'm going to do first is, before I run this safety, let me just extract all the dependency which we have in this virtual environment. So I'm just gonna save it in my requirements.txt, as we always do in any given Python project. So we have that. Now the simple command which we need to run is safety check. So I'm going to run this. And this is a free version, but there is an organization behind it. It's if I call it, if I remember correctly, I think it's PYUP, I guess. Yes. And for commercial projects, safely must be upgraded to use API using the key option. So in the free version, what it does is it's keep updating its databases for the known vulnerabilities, because vulnerabilities keep popping up, in the new libraries, because all the libraries, which are publicly available, keep changing, with time, right? So they keep updating that. If you want to have a latest known vulnerability, which I would suggest you should always have. But if you don't have this commercial version, then it has a free version which actually gets updated after 30 days, right? So if you are not using this key option, either with the free trial or the commercial version, whatever the vulnerabilities you will just get with last 30 days, before 30 days known vulnerabilities, right? You won't get the latest and the greatest one. So just to play with, just to get a sense, how safety works, I think it would be good to start with the free version, and then you can, once you actually need to use in your real-time environment, then definitely I would suggest to go for the commercial one, right? So if you just see, it's very, very good. What I did is I just installed bunch of libraries, and I have to run is, after installing a safety check, right? And if you just go through, it says this report, right? This is what it says: safety is using by UPA freeze open source vulnerability database. This database is 30 days old and limited, right? So if you want to get the latest one, for real-time enhanced vulnerabilities data, which I talked about, fix recommendations, severity reporting, cybersecurity support team, and all those stuff, then you have to sign up for this. But anyways, coming back to, what it does, if you just see, it says here, using non-commercial database, found and scanned 29 packages, 4 vulnerabilities found. Let's see what are those 4 vulnerabilities, right? So vulnerabilities founds are vulnerability found in setup tools version, this one, right? So setup tools, the library, which is having this version, and affected spec, right? So it says that include a fix, right? Setup tools 65.5.0 CB, this one Python package, right? So if you want to get the detail about all this, right, the one thing is you can click here, and the another thing is you can copy this vulnerabilities identifier CB, and here in Google, if you want to search for this, right, let's see what we get. I think this one should be the most important and relevant one, because this one is the official one. Python Packaging Authority setup tools. This allows remote attackers to cause a denial of service by STM in the crafted package or the customer package index. There is a regular expression denial redos in package underscore index.py, right? So what we can do is, so there are 2 ways through which we can handle this, but let's see the another one. Another one is related to the vulnerabilities found in the PIF version, right? It's in a pip version itself, we are getting this 21.3.1. Okay, that's good, then we have a numpy one, which I was talking in the beginning, right, when I started this session. Numpy, this includes a fix for the cv 2021. It seems like it gets discovered in 2021. Null pointer difference vulnerability exists in numpy.short in numpy, right? So if you copy this, right, and if you also click on this, right, so let's search for this one. Okay, so let's click on this. Null pointer difference vulnerability exists in numpy short which allows attackers to conduct DOS attacks by repeatedly creating short arrays. While correct, the validation is missing, and error can occur due to the exhaustion of memory. Right. So if you have a memory which is older than this one, I think it's 1.222, then you have to fix this, right? The other one is the wheel, right? So what we can do, right? The easiest thing is to upgrade to the latest one, right? So if I search for num py pi, right? And let's see, 1.26.2, right? So the easiest thing is you can uninstall numpy, right? Or you can upgrade it. Either ways, whatever you feel like. Mm, so let me just remove this, okay? And rather than giving a specific version, let's install the numpy, assuming that it will give us the latest one. And then we're gonna run the safety scan one more time to see that it should reduce to 3 now. It shouldn't have 4 vulnerabilities. Awesome. So let's run this one more time. I should have freeze the package, but let's see. Scan was completed, 3 vulnerabilities found, and we should not see the numpy one. Okay, so we have the setup tools. If you just see this red color message, setup tools, PIP, we saw that, and then we have this wheel one, right? So numpy one is went away, right? So so what happens, whenever any version, specific version of any independent library has any kind of vulnerabilities, that definitely the community behind that library, or the organization behind that, or the community which is maintaining that, they try to provide a patch, right? So that they can fix that vulnerability, because they know that a lot of people around the world is using those libraries for the one reason or the other, right? So having vulnerabilities in one library, one dependent library, can cause to having vulnerabilities in the final solution where that dependent library is being used, right? So it's very, very important for each and every Python developer or the software developer to use this safety library as soon as possible when they start doing any coding. Right now we are living in a world of a chat gpt where it is providing a lot of written code, and we are copy pasting from there, without even knowing what those not I would it's not a good word to say without knowing. Everybody knows what they are doing, but they have to be a little bit more cognizant, and they have to use the power of these freely available libraries which can reduce these vulnerabilities in our solution. And that way we can make sure that none of the unauthorized person can get the access by exploiting these vulnerabilities, right? So I think this is pretty much it. So most of the time you will find those vulnerabilities which can be easily be fixed by just upgrading the version of a library. But what happens sometime when you upgrade the library, right, and you are using some function which is deprecated into the newer version, then you have to find the corresponding solution in the new library, and then you have to do some code changes as well, right? Most of the time those patches are not going to have any kind of broken logic. But if that vulnerability is very severe and backward compatibility cannot be maintained to handle that vulnerability, then definitely you have to not only update to the latest version or the greatest version which has the solution for that vulnerabilities in the dependent service library, but you have to make the code changes as well, right? But it's really worth, because we cannot have any vulnerable application in a sensitive environment like QAT or QA, or in a production like environment where any unauthorized person can exploit that, right? So keep these thing in a mind. And I think I have published another video on Bandit, which actually a static tool analyzer, which also gives us very good insight on our code which we are writing. So now what you can do is you can write your code by using multiple libraries, and then you can first run the band IT, and then you can run the safety, right? So that way you can figure out as much as vulnerability you can. So that's pretty much it which I wanted to cover for this. It's very, very powerful library in my opinion. So read through the documentation, log into the free trial of 30 days. You will get a key option. Then all you need to do is to just use the key, and whatever the API key you will get from the PYUP website, you can just have to give this. And then once you provide that, then they will provide that, they precisely tells you, okay, which option to be used to fix the vulnerabilities as well, right? I can show you the example which I ran just now, I guess. Okay, here this is how it looks like, when you use a key, right? It says that the closest version with no known vulnerabilities is this one, right? So wheel version is this one, right? The closest version with no vulnerability is this one. I was using a key, so I get precisely what version to be used, so that I won't get into the this vulnerability. So I can quickly update that. Let's see the wheel, right? But here, if you just see, we don't have that precise instruction to fix. As I mentioned, it could be upgrading to the latest one, or the another later version through which you can fix this. So it's very straightforward, but use it as much as you can, so that vulnerabilities can be found in early stage of development, right? Because when it reaches to the point where you are trying to deploy it, and if your SecOps team or your security team figures it out, then you have to at that point of time fix all these stuff, right? And at the last moment fixing all these stuff, it's always very it's always comes with a very pressurized situation, because once you upgrade it, then you have to go through the entire life cycle. Like, you have to go for the QA, you have to go for the UAT, and right. So it's not a good thing, right? So try to run all those things, run those two library, bandit and safety. And I have a I'm planning to just publish another video for the Pyre check, which is a library built for the Python to check the types. And it has, as I mentioned, I think in a previous video, that it has a very intelligent way of figuring out at the runtime probable cause as well, with wrong method signature, the function signature with some annotation and all those stuff, right? That's an interesting thing to explore. So probably I will be publishing that in a near future, so that once we have all the videos published, like bandit safety and the priority check, then probably I can come up with long video where I can tell you how you can use all those three in a real-time environment, probably with the GitLab pipeline or your CI/CD pipeline, right? But that's pretty much it, which I wanted to cover for this video. As always, thanks for watching this. But if you have any feedback, any suggestion, or any comment to make my videos more helpful for you guys, feel free to just let me know. Thanks for watching this, and as always, stay healthy and keep learning a new thing.